Okay, welcome to a what I want to call a special edition of TISM Talks. Now, if this one isn't going to be super edited, honestly, because my editor's kind of been slacking at her job. But before I start anything, there's someone that wants to say hi. Hey, buddy, you wanna come? Come here. I got you. I got you. Ugh. Hello. Say hi. Okay, you can stay here. All right. He likes my bed. All right. So this is a special edition of Autism Talks. I call it Movie Edition. Now, I'm not going to be a critic. I'm not going to bore you to death by talking about plot holes or plot armor, direction, cinematography, cameras. Well, I will if I feel like that's within my wheelhouse or if something really stands out. But I think today's movie, or the movie that I'm talking about today, has absolutely nothing to talk about in terms of a critic standpoint. It's just mostly would an average consumer like it, and is this a movie that you would want to take your friends or your date or your parents to? So I actually never got to do my introduction. Welcome to TISM Talks. TISM Talks is an original concept of mine in which me being chronically online basically provides a lot of information in my noggin that I need to, at most times, more often than not, just vomit out because otherwise I'll go insane. I already am insane, but the thing is that, you know, um, I I need more insanity in my life. So I will doom scroll on TikTok or Instagram, read a bunch of articles that people tell me to read, make an opinion with some bias, and just let it rot in my brain and then I'll be like, damn, I really need to get this out. So I was like, hey, why not just talk to the internet? Because Lord knows what the world really needs is just another brown dude with a ranting problem to post YouTube videos in hopes for some virality or traction, or maybe, I don't know, opinions, debate, whatever, right? Because at the end of the day, the internet, it's nothing more than a large society in which, in a perfect utopian world, we would all collaborate and advance, the human race together. But we can't because of, free market capitalism, greed, and a bunch of other like personality disorders. But let's get back to Tism Talks Movie Edition. So today's movie that I want to talk about is The Furious. Not The Fast and the Furious, just The Furious. You would think that this would just be kind of like the last movie to the Fast and Furious franchise, which it's not. If I can't honestly, I can't even remember. Like, wasn't the last movie Fast and Furious I remember watching in theaters was the one with Jason Momoa, and what happened in that one, it ended on a cliffhanger, and we never got a sequel to that cliffhanger. And I think in hindsight, it's actually hilarious. It's almost like a tragic comedy, right? They spent so much money in making this movie. They hyped it up so much as the last one, as the last one, as the last one, and just nothing. And honestly, I don't think you probably even remembered about it until I brought up to this point. You would think that when I said The Furious, you're like, oh, did the 12th Fast and Furious movie come out? Right? And they also had weird naming convention. It was a Fast and the Furious, then Too Fast, Too Furious. Then it was Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift, right? Then it was the Fast and the Furious or Then it was Fast Five, something, Furious Seven, Fast Eight, or Fast and Furious Eight, Nine, Ten. It was. There's a lot. And point being, there's a lot of them. We don't know them, or we don't care to know the names about them. We just know the overall plot, right? Vin Diesel comes in, beats up the villain, says family, and that's it. But well, this movie actually kind of follows the same undertone. Not really. There is no race cars that go up into space, duct taped to a rocket. None of that crap. Honestly, I think you might even enjoy this one more than the Fast and Furious franchise. But so overall plot, right? This is non-spoilers, and then I will tell you spoilers so you can kind of skip through it or whatnot. Now, I'm not going to break this up into chapters. All right. I can a decent editor to do that for me. And the editor that I have, again, throwing shade at my editor, just doesn't want to do it because she's too busy about her college career. So, which I'm like, really? You're worried about college, right? As if that amounts to anything or has any form of ROI, especially now. Highest level of unemployment. Most people are just staying in college and getting masters to postpone their unemployment. People aren't hiring. AI's taking jobs. There's been massive layoffs. So we've just kind of learned in the last 10 years college is nothing more than a scam. At this point, it's a fraud. Like, I will say, yes, education is necessary, but higher education at the ridiculous price that it is now, you're just better off doing YouTube, brah. And take it from a guy who's got like 3 subscribers and 10 views. But no, so The Furious is a buddy action. As you can see, these two characters are protagonists. It's central. The theme of this is in, I want to say, southeast, southwest Asia, and premise is that you know a father who has his daughter kidnapped is trying to recover her. Sounds like Taken, but in this case, you know, there isn't, Qui-Gon Jinn isn't threatening people on the phone because the Qui-Gon Jinn in this movie is mute. So, yeah, so, this gentleman has the father, his daughter is kidnapped and he's basically chasing down. His buddy is a journalist who's not hunting, searching for his wife, who was investigating a child sex trafficking ring. Now, I swear to God, this movie now, with everything that's been going on in the Epstein files, would be like, wow, relevant, right? There's like some realistic irony right now because the fact that this thing is trying to expose like a child sex trafficking ring and there's like these two kung fu masters that are doing this is like, wow, does this mean that Jackie Chan and Jet Li might like come together and take down the Epstein class, considering we're still on an ongoing investigation? No, I don't think so, bud. Unfortunately, this isn't a big budget Hollywood movie, or life isn't a big budget Hollywood movie. It might feel like it, right? Because of all the absurd crimes that all the rich people are getting away with. But no, it's not. Unfortunately, life does not have happy conclusions like The Furious. Well, spoilers ahead. You will, it depends, right? What your palate is, what you can digest. But moving forward, so yeah, it's these two guys, they go all over. I don't think they disclose the location or the country, but they all basically go all over the country that they're in, and try to look for the daughter and save the children. Now, this is one of those movies where you can turn your brain off. Um, there is no, like this isn't some sort of Shakespearean spin-off where they're wanting the audience to hone in on dialogues and posture and lighting and facial expression. It's none of that. You go inside, theater goes dark, you turn your brain off, you watch an hour and 40, hour and 30 minutes of this movie, you come out as a happy man or woman. Uh, yeah, that's really kind of the gist of it. Um, where was I going with this? I had a train in my head. I had a train in my head. I had a thought in my head, or a train thought, or a thought train. Well, whatever. So yeah, movie's really great. You can turn your brain off. You'll watch it. I like to call it John Wick's fight choreography meets IP Man. If you really liked IP Man, and if you really, really like the John Wick movies, this will really suffice your appetite. Okay, you will watch this movie and it is non-stop action. It's like it's 5 minutes of drama, 20 minutes of action, 10 minutes of drama, 30 minutes of action, 5 minutes of drama, 10 minutes of action, and then the last fight sequence is absolutely phenomenal. The last fight sequence, you will drop a lot of holy fucks and what the fucks and holy shit. So, and you could tell that the people who directed this as well as coordinated the fighting really cared about this project. It was to a degree a passion project, or they treated it as a passion project, right? Not everything is going to be like Obsession. Um, Side note, Curry Barker, Indy Navarrete, Michael Johnson, Cooper Thompson, and Megan Lawless have given me cinematic poisoning. Obsession has, for better or for worse, completely ruined my cinematic palette. I cannot watch any movies in theater for the rest of the year if it does not give me the same malicious hunger of more, as well as the emotions and the psychological thriller and the basically the cognitive disruption that I have in my head. That movie makes you feel something. That movie makes you want to either become a better man or focus more on the arts. I like to think of what that movie did to me is, there's a very popular joke in the Silicon Valley that people who become, AI engineers or AI security consultants or whatever it is will do that job, make their money, and then later retire or quit and focus on becoming a farmer or write poetry. There is a quote where it says, "I've stared into the abyss and now I seek only to write poetry till the end of my days." That's like a very, very short, but that's how obsession has made me feel. I want to basically do something that matters to me, I'm passionate about. I hunger for something more than just a corporate mission statement. I want to contribute to a legacy. I want to create something that people would admire while at the same time satisfy myself. Obsession has given me, has, for better sense, um, disrupted me, like mentally disrupted me. And it's not because of just the how good the psychological horror was. It's that the amount of commitment that you could see in every single scene, and the acting as well as the lighting. And I have watched maybe anywhere from 20 to 30 hours of post credit stuff, people breaking down scenes, all of the cast and their interviews. I even watched, like I'm not just talking about that. I'm talking about the Blair who does the costume design. I've watched all of her videos that she's posted and will post. I've seen the production manager. She went on a podcast and she kind of broke down how she helped structure all of the legal entities and the insurance and this, that, the setup. I've seen some of the production stuff that's come out. I've seen the waitress. She also posted a TikTok that came across my feed. I watched that where how she just, helped how that scene wasn't initially in there and that they shot it after post production and they kind of put that in there just to kind of create a very smooth transition. Like that movie has made me want to research and basically, become a thespian of my own or a director, writer, whatever. It wanted me to contribute to that art stream. Um, and I just, yeah, like I said, I went to watch this with a friend of mine, and I told him that, as much as I really enjoyed this movie, I can't get, it didn't suffice. I'm still gonna think about Obsession. Even when we were exiting the theater, I was like, is there a scene? Is there a showtime playing just so I can kind of sneak in? It's almost like a drug at this point. It is a drug. All right. I don't know what they laced that movie with in terms of some form of visual um, addiction. You could say was, Indy Never Ready was the visual methamphetamines or cocaine that that has you hooked. You could maybe say it was all the violence as well as the intense dialogue exchange between all of the actors. But I am hooked. That is definitely a movie I will say top five, top three. I could I would be over exaggerating my opinion if I was to give it like the best movie of all time, number one slot, and die on that hill. I would die on that hill. But yeah, it's definitely top three. Like out of all genres, everything combined. Um, Actually, I don't think anything could defeat Return of the King for me. Return of the King, just as a Lord of the Rings fan, I've read the books, I've read the Silmarillion. I'm currently reading the Tales of Numenor. That movie is Return of the King is something special. It makes you first of all, it makes you want to go to New Zealand and see the whole, set that they created and all the places that they shot. And yeah, I don't, every time if I ever run into Viggo Mortensen, I will go down on my knees, bow my head, and proclaim him as my king because Aragorn is my king, and Viggo is the perfect personification of the literary Aragorn. I think he knocked it out of the park. And I'm thankful that Russell Crowe had graciously denied taking the role of Aragorn because if you didn't know, the studio actually wanted Russell Crowe after his performance in The Gladiator and he had a very generational run from like the late 90s to the early 2000s. And Russell Crowe could actually see that Peter Jackson didn't really want him, and he picked up on it and denied it graciously, and we got the best crew, the best performance, a generational Oscar run. I don't think another movie has ever come close to the Oscar run that The Return of the King had. So, excuse me. Um, yeah, coming back to this movie, uh, yeah, like I said, it's a good watch. Now, will critics love it? No, they won't. I know for a fact. They will find some, plot hole, or they'll find something wrong with the lighting, set design. Um, I don't think they'll really care. Like they'll enjoy the action sequence. But they're like, oh, it wasn't, it wasn't really good drama or it wasn't really good acting. And honestly, you don't watch these movies for the acting. You watch it for the fight coordination and stunt coordination. Is this enjoyable for the average consumer? I would say, yeah. I would say, 3 out of 5 people would really enjoy it. Two might not, just because they don't really like all the action, nonstop action. But I could be wrong. Like I said, as a consumer, I enjoyed it. Like there's is this a paisa vasul or money well spent? Yes, yes, it is. It's 100% is. If you enjoy the John Wick movies, you'll really like this movie. I think I watched the John Wick movie and then I also watched um oh Lord, what was that one really good movie that A24 made? Um, it's like the one with about the Fallujah and it had oh Michael Gandolfini in it. It was like Warface or Wartime or something like that. Not War Machine. That's the Alan Richardson one. But no, like if you like John Wick, you will really like this movie. This is hand-to-hand combat with John Wick levels of fight coordination. I would say even better. It's John Wick will use guns and knives and shit. This is all hand to hand with either hammers and tools and whatnot, or your setting or your environment around you. It's really good. It's really good in terms of an action movie. I think this is one of those movies that if you're someone who wants to learn stunt coordination or fight sequences, you would use this movie as a source material. and kind of see what they do, how did they coordinate, what the actors trained. You would kind of go into the behind the scenes and research on it. Um, this I wouldn't say that it's a good, date night movie. Maybe if your partner is into action, then sure. Is this a good boys' night movie? Hell yeah. This is definitely a good boys' night movie. If you and the guys, have a couple of beers and you sit down and you watch the movie and you're going to be throwing popcorn and hyping each other up and you could probably feel the adrenaline in the room. I If this movie's near you for Father's Day, go take your dad to it. I am 100% certain that if I took my father to this movie, he would enjoy it. Um, but yeah, like the story is great. Obviously, like spoiler alert, I am going to talk about some of the stuff in the movie now, so skip ahead. I will do some sort. I will either flick you off so you can kind of look for the part where I don't talk about spoilers. But if I remember it to flick you off, I might just flick you off as a habit. Who knows? Fuck it, as if I care. So he saves his daughter. The journalist dies. Like there is, it's kind of like a tight. Um, you could There is room for a spinoff or prequel because they don't really tell you what the origin of the father is. The father is mute. He is like ex special forces or some special police officer or something that suffered a head injury and um, uh, basically, became mute. You don't know that in the movie, they don't tell you. But the journalist, he finds out that his wife is dead, and then he also dies. There is a, you know, he rescues his daughter, and they try to go and you think that they're going to explain you the gentleman's background in the end, but they don't, which is kind of cool, right? You kind of like, oh, like I'm pique my curiosity. If there's another one, I might watch to learn more about it. Um, but yeah, like that's like the only thing that you could say. Dialogue, there's I believe they talk predominant like not predominantly in Mandarin, but there's some dialogues in Mandarin. They have subtitles. Some of the lines are dubbed over in English, and lines are genuinely in English. So really good. Like from start to end, you see this girl, you see this journalist. She finds basically this child trafficking ring. They kill her. Then it goes down to then you introduce the main character. His daughter gets kidnapped. There's a really good fight sequence. Then he hunts them down. These guys overlap. They're like, hey, we're not. They fight each other for a little bit. They're like, we're not the enemy. We're doing one of the same thing. Then they, go to a lair. They get information from the lair. Then the second longest fight sequence is I would say, actually, no, it's not. Yeah, the second longest fight sequence is my second favorite fight sequence, right? They go up, basically this like slum, uh, like Section 8 housing or what, I'm not Section 8, fucking, apartment complex. They go up this slum apartment complex. They find the kids, they rescue them, and then they end up in a police station. And the last, like, I think 40 minutes of this movie is nothing but nonstop violence. There's a part in the movie where it's kind of like a boss fight. It's You could think of like if you've ever played Elden Ring or if you played any Dark Souls game, if you've ever went across or even Black Myth Wukong and came across those bosses where they had like two stages or three stages, this movie had that. There's one fight where there's a boss fight and it's like two stages, and then the last fight is like it's like a five-way Mexican standoff. It is absolutely phenomenal, right? You're literally screaming holy shit, holy fuck, what the fuck nonstop because the movie does a real good job at cuts and angles and like the villains coordinating each other, the hero and the villain coordinating to take down the third party, and the third party coordinating with the hero or the villain to take down the other. It's really great. Like they really, and it's not shoddy camera work at all. Like you could see it, and they do perfect swaps between. There's a part where they split. And you could, if you're watching this with after the spoilers, right? They split off. Like the one hero is paired with one villain, and then the main protagonist is partnered with them, is fighting the main antagonist with the third party, and they do perfect cuts and takes. There isn't my favorite thing that was pointed out to me was that there was no villain monologue. Most of these movies, right? If you think of John Wick, there's like a villain monologue. It was none of that. As the villain is building up for his monologue in the final stand down, the protagonist is like, "Nope, yeah, yeet," and they fly out of the building and they fall like 3 stories down. And you're just like, "This is great." I'm telling you, this movie probably had less than 1,000 dialogues of exchanges, and it fulfilled your, there what you didn't like be like, "Oh, this was I didn't like it because they didn't talk too much." You won't say that in this movie. It's really, really great. So if there is a prequel to this movie based off how they ended it, or a sequel, I might watch it. But yeah, it's a really good um, movie overall. So kind of my rating system that I have. See, a lot of people use numbers, or they will, use stars, like 3 out of 5 stars, or 5 out of 5 stars, or 1 out of 10, or 3 out of 10, or whatever. I think that's all bullshit, right? When you go to a movie, right, you're going with a sense of hunger. You're going with a little pit in your stomach, right? And you want it to be filled, right? And what better way for TISM Talk to use its metric than if you were gonna qualify this movie as a grilled cheese sandwich, right? So I'm gonna, based off of how I talked about this movie and based how I will. Oh, first of all, no spoilers, no spoilers, no spoilers. I had to kind of do this because remember, see, I remembered, guys, I remembered because I'm not gonna chop it up into chapters. I might, who knows? We'll see. But yeah, fuck a rating system based off of numbers, right? Like, okay, yeah, Rotten Tomato may be cool, but you could have a 96% Rotten Tomato by audience score, go watch a movie and not like it because, you're one of those people that don't fit with the general society, right? You don't think like society does, and or you want to be the outlier, which I don't blame you. Yeah, fuck society. Fuck what people think. Fuck the world. Everyone is selfish, so why should you care about anyone else other than yourself and the people that you love? So my rating system for TISM Talk is a little bit different. It's about if this movie was a food, would it be digestible? Would you like it? Would it kind of fill that little pit in your stomach? So the bread, right? I'm gonna use it. It's like structure of the movie, right? How is the structure of the movie? How is the foundation of this movie? A good grilled cheese needs good bread. And this is nothing more than a white sandwich bread. Strong, it's firm, it's not, there's no extra additives or seasoning in the dough, right, to kind of provide more flavor. It does its job. The movie does its job. It gives you a good foundation. It is nothing more than white sandwich bread. You could use white sandwich bread for anything and it will deliver. It might not deliver exceptionally, but it will deliver nonetheless. Cheese, I call it a pepper jack mozzarella because it's mostly pepper jack, right? A lot of action, a lot of fight, a lot of blood. Not a lot of gore, but a lot of blood. Well, a little bit of gore. There's like one scene in particular that's somewhat gory, but it's not like, oh, they're ripping out the dude's intestine and they're shoving it down his mouth and they're pulling eye sockets out and no, it's none of that. It's a little bit of gore, a little bit extra violence. But yeah, it's pepper jack because it's actiony, it's spicy, it delivers that little kick, but there's a little bit of a mozzarella. So, it's a nice cheese pull. It's very good. If you like Pepperjack, then you will really like this movie. At sometimes there's a little bit of plain, right? You got to have like the kind of the cliches and whatnot, but other nonetheless, it's got that kick, it's got that spice, it's got that Pepperjack, and I will say it's perfectly toasted. It's not like a golden brown, or actually, yeah, I would say it's perfectly toasted. Because once you have it, right, it's not burnt and it's not raw, it's not soft. It's perfectly toasted. It delivers, right? From every single fight scene from start to end delivers. It's good. The exchanges between the two protagonists delivers. The little bit of emotion that the father shows, right? It delivers. The acting, right? Like the gentleman is not mute. He has to play a mute. And he does a real good job. And think about it, right? You're doing a lot of hand-to-hand combat. You're taking blows, you're delivering blows, but you can't even like, excuse me, exert sounds, right? You can't go ha he who no, he doesn't do any of that. He's doing it while he's mute. So yeah, it's perfectly toasted, right? You will not, it won't burn you. It won't be cold by the time you finish it, right? So it's a really good white sandwich pepper jack toasted grilled cheese. It's not terrible. It's not movie of the year, but at the end of the day, do we really care about watching movie of the year because it's some Shakespearean uh literal agent's wet dream? No. Okay, this isn't some playwright. This isn't some adapted screenplay off of a novel. It's just an action movie, but it's a really good action movie. I would say better than maybe John Wick, and just how there's so much fight scenes and hand-to-hand combat. You will not if you leave the theater yearning for more, I think you might be the problem. I hate to say it to you, but yeah, yeah, you're not gonna hate it. You're not gonna hate it, boss. That's all I got for TISM Talks Movie Edition. All right. This is a unique one-off twist. I won't be editing this, so let's just see how it goes. But if you have a showtime of The Furious, go watch it. Go watch it with your dad. Go watch it with the boys. It's a boys night out type of movie. It's definitely a good father-son bonding movie. Um, you're not gonna hate it. And if you hate it, come to my comment sections and fight me, ho. I don't give a fuck. Cash Money Nav out.